Hey everybody, we've got 60-degree temperatures in early March, so you know what that means. It's time for a day off and a scouting trip. Tomorrow we're headed off to some public land that's close to the house that I haven't been on before. I'm hoping to find some close places to the house to set up in the fall. Because it's been so warm, we've had such a mild winter, I think the ticks are going to be pretty bad, so I've got my hiking clothes here that I've already treated with permethrin last year. Uh, but I've got a spray bottle of permethrin here. I'm going to spray on them again just to freshen them up a bit, and hopefully it won't be bringing home any ticks tomorrow. So I'm going to give them a quick spray and let them dry, and they'll be ready for tomorrow. That's it. Now they can sit here in the garage. It's a beautiful day with a little breeze, so they'll dry pretty quick. They'll be ready to go tomorrow, and hopefully no ticks in the house. Just a little backstory on what we're trying to do today. I've hunted primarily on a piece of private ground that I've had permission to hunt on fairly close to the house for the last several years. And the area on the private land that I hunt is kind of a bedding area. It's a lot of little small pine trees, and I think that's a lot of bedding for a lot of these deer and a lot of these bucks. I was fortunate enough to kill a pretty good buck there in bow season last year, but last year I did something that I typically don't do. Typically, I put my trail cameras out, and then once the season starts, I kind of take them down, and pull them out. Well, last year I left them up, and I killed my buck, I think, on October 26th. I went back in, I think, November 7th or 8th, and pulled all my cameras out. And what I found was there were some much bigger bucks cruising through that area in daylight in the middle of the day. Once the rut started going on. So what I want to do this year is I want to stay out of that area as much as I can early. So, but I don't want to not hunt. So what I'm going to do is there's some public land that's really, really close to where we live as well, but I've never really scouted it. I've done some hiking on it in the summertime. There's some hiking trails, but I've never really been on it for the purpose of finding deer sign. I just discovered the other day that there is a backside entrance to this public ground that I did not know about that is really, really close to our house. So that's what we're doing this morning. We're going to go in and I found some spots on the satellite maps that look like they could be swampy areas or marshy areas. So we're going to go in, check them out, look for some deer sign, maybe hopefully find a shed or two. That'll be a bonus, but that's not the purpose of today. Today is to cover as much ground as possible. I want to scout as much of this as I can today, as well as another piece of state forest land that's not too far away, just to give myself some options for for early season, places I can get to fairly quickly from the house, to kind of stay out of the area that I know I want to be in once the rut starts. So that's what we're going to do today. Hopefully we find some good stuff, and I can show you what I'm finding and what I'm looking for. Well, I've come about 500 yards from the truck, and first impressions are pretty good. I've reached a point on the trail where I want to veer off and explore one of the areas I saw on the map. It looks like it's really, really thick. A lot of laurel from what I can see initially, which is never fun to walk through, but that's the whole point. I want to try to find where these deer have their bedrooms at in this place. This public property actually borders the housing development that we live in, and obviously we always see deer in the development throughout the year, but we don't typically see a lot of big bucks until the rut starts. That's one of my key indicators that the rut is in full swing is when I start seeing mature big bucks in my yard, around my house, and driving through our development. So they've got to be somewhere in the vicinity, outside the development, before the rut starts. And I'm hoping that, we can find their bedroom here on some of this public ground that I can get to, relatively easily. And that maybe in the early season we can sneak in and set up and try to get one, where they live. That's the intent. First impressions are pretty good. I like what I'm seeing. I'll keep you posted as to what I find. Well, I've come a little ways into this laurel, and it's exactly the type of habitat that I've been looking for. I'll show you what I'm looking at here as best I can, but this is truly what appears to be a laurel swamp. It's extremely thick. I can see, all kinds of different trails where, it looks like the deer are coming in and out of here already. I'll kill myself trying to get all the way through it, so I'm gonna back out to the edge, and just kind of walk the edge of it, and see if I can see any good signs, where I can see it looks like they're really coming in and out, and then prod in a little bit from there to see if I can locate any good buck sign, any rubs, scrapes, beds, that kind of stuff. There's no good way to get in here without making a ton of noise and blowing up everything that's in here during season. So, actually getting in the swamp, if I can find a good way to go in and look around now, I will, because it's only, first week in March. So, I'm not terribly worried about screwing it up for the fall at this point, but during deer season, I'm going to try to find a spot maybe on the edge of this, if I can locate where, it looks like they might be coming in and out. But, this is kind of what we're looking at here. It's kind of thick. We haven't had a ton of rain recently, so, the fact that there's standing water tells me that this is pretty swampy all the time. So, I can imagine if we get, a period where, we get a bunch of rain over a week or so, that the water level in here, probably rises quite a bit. Well, I found a way into the swamp. It's still really, really rough going. I've got to move real slow and try not to fall down and break the camera or my leg or any of that stuff. But I found exactly what I was looking for in here. I haven't seen any rubs or that kind of stuff, but I found this perfect bed on this little raised area. There it is right there. Right in the middle of this just thick, nasty, it's thick and nasty in here. I'm probably 50 yards or so into the laurel swamp, the swampy part, and then the laurel itself extends out onto the, the dry land another 20 or 30 yards past that. So, this bed right here is, is easily 60 or 70 yards from, anywhere that I would consider to be, easy walking, as we say. So, I'm gonna sneak through here a little bit more and see if I can find any more of these beds. There's a couple different trails that come in and out of here. I'm gonna follow one of those and maybe follow a couple of them and see what I can find. I'm gonna try to walk to the other edge of this swamp. I don't think it's real wide. I think the whole swamp might be a couple 100 yards wide, so I'm gonna try to get to the other edge and then circle back around the outside edge of it, and see what I can find and see if I can find any good sign. But finding a good bed like this in this kind of cover is a good sign. So hopefully we find some more. Well, I came out the other side of this swamp, and it's thick, it's nasty in there. Didn't see a whole lot of definitive buck sign, didn't see any big rubs or anything like that, but it's so thick in there that just trying to get through it was enough. Coming out the backside, which is actually the west side of the swamp, you'll see behind me that it opens up and goes right up this little hill, up this little saddle, and you can kind of see that's where I came from. thick, nasty laurel. And then it kind of opens right up. Opens right up to, you know, kind of open, kind of woodlands. Looks like there's some oaks in here. I'm going to spend some time walking the kind of the base of this saddle and see what I can see. Well, break time. It's been 2 hours or so since I started hiking through here, pushing through the laurel swamp and the thick stuff, and I have to say it's very beautiful out here. I'm definitely going to want to come back out and put some cameras out as we get through the summer, especially around that swamp, and see what's coming in and out. But haven't come across any major buck sign, but you know, that laurel swamp is crisscrossed with trails, and you know, I found a couple of nice beds in there, and you know, that's just the way that habitat is. It leads me to believe that there's got to be a good buck or two hanging out in that area. I do have to make a little confession. This is the first time I've tried to put together a video like this of anything that I've done hiking, and I have a couple different cameras I brought with me, and I was trying to figure out how to strap my regular tripod for my DSLR camera to my pack when I was getting out of the truck, and the strap came loose and it fell on the ground. Thankfully it looks like the camera's okay, but the tripod not so much, so don't tell my wife, okay? Thanks. No, it was a cheap Walmart tripod that we've had for, you know, 20 years or so, you know, not meant to withstand a fall of, you know, 4 feet, but thankfully the camera's okay. You know, that would have been upsetting for the camera to break, but it didn't, so we're in good shape, having a good day. Gonna finish our little water break here and get back at it. The laurel swamp is just over my shoulder here, still behind me. I'm gonna circle around it some more and see if I can't find a couple more spots where I might want to put cameras. you know, there's a lot of ground to cover, and I know I'm not going to get it all done today, so you know, we're going to cover what we can. Still want to go look at another piece of state forest land this afternoon before I have to go get the kids from daycare and off the bus. So we will see what we can't find. I just found what I think is going to be a great spot to put a camera for sure. Inside this laurel area, kind of on the north end of the laurel swamp, I found this little kind of clearing, and there's a little creek that runs kind of right through here. So there's a little tiny creek, but then it kind of opens up into some really nice kind of little clearing, and there's trails going every which way out of the clearing, but there's one main trail that goes right back through there. I mean, it's, you know, it's pretty heavily used. You know, quite a few fresh deer tracks, you know, crossing right here where they cross this little creek. So I marked a spot on my map as a place to come back in and set a camera up at some point, just to see what's moving through here. I think this is a location that I can get in and out of fairly quickly and fairly quietly. The laurel getting into this area wasn't too bad. You know, and there's some good trees, you know, that I'm looking at in the you know, on the outskirts of this little clearing that, you know, would be good to get up with a climber for sure. You know, depending on the wind, there's a couple different options, you know. So, you know, this is probably the most promising spot that I found as far as you know, a possible hunting setup so far. We'll just have to get a camera in and see what's actually moving through here when we get into the summer months. Just finished up the first piece of public property I wanted to look at today. Oh, three and a half hours or so out there. I didn't check to see how many miles I walked, but it's probably 3.5, 4 miles, I'd imagine. It was 38 degrees when I left the truck on my way out, and it is now 71 according to my pickup. So it's a little warm. Overall impressions of this piece, it's pretty promising. I didn't come across any major buck sign, but I am optimistic about that swamp area. I did find some beds, some good travel corridors that they're using. So I've got a theory about why there isn't as much buck sign in there as what I would have expected. And the theory is simply this. I said earlier that you know, when the bucks start looking for the does, and the rut starts to pick up, all the big bucks, they migrate into our development. So and they stay there. They're there in the day, they're there in the night. You can see them bedded all over the place, running around. You know, so my guess is when they get to the point where they're going to start making all that sign and rubs, they're moving out of their bedrooms and they're just relocating to the development for the duration. You can't, you know, they're safe in the development, so they don't even worry about it, you know, and they know they're safe in there. So, you know, that's my theory. I'm not sure if there's really anything to it or not, but we're gonna get a couple cameras put up out here, you know, over the next couple months, and just let them sit for a month or two, and then come back and see what's actually moving through there. But gonna leave here now. I'm gonna drive, you know, a few miles away around the block to a piece of state forest land that I've never been on. That also butts up to the backside of a development. So, you know, we'll go check that out and see what it looks like, and you know, we'll see what we find. Well, it is 1 o'clock, and we just got to state forest land. Like I said, we've never been here before either, so we're just gonna spend an hour or two out here poking around. There's a real nice trail we're walking in on. I can see that marked part already, so looks like we're gonna go uphill for a little bit, and then like I said, we'll pull out the onX maps and identify any, see if we can find any swamps, or like I said, there's a backside of a development that butts up against this state forest land too, so we may swing down that way and see if anything looks good as you get closer to the edge there, where the deer are probably going in and out of that development just like they do the one that I live in. But stay tuned. We will poke around out here and see what we can find. Well, what do we have here? There's a scrape underneath this little pine tree. Well, that wraps up today. I was out on the state forest land for about an hour and 15 minutes. It's absolutely beautiful out there. Great place to take a hike. I don't see me spending on any time in a tree stand out there. Big elevation changes for this area. When you leave the parking area, you got to go climb a couple hundred feet, then you go back down a couple hundred feet. And the only areas I found that might be worth hanging a camera or two were down in like a little creek bottom area, which was even down another 100 feet or so. So you shoot a deer back in there and you're gonna be all day getting it out, because no matter what you do, you've got to climb and then descend and then climb again to get it out. I mean, there's good roads back through there, so a deer cart would definitely help, but it's still a lot of elevation. Great place to hike. I'm definitely going to spend more time out here. It's close to the house. Bring the family out for hikes, and I could see using a place like this. If in a couple years, I plan an elk hunt out west or something. Some place like this to come out and just hike up and down the hills with a loaded pack on, just to get used to the climb, and that kind of stuff. But other than that, it was all in all a great day. It was a little disappointing in the fact that I didn't see any buck sign like I wanted to, but I think the first property I went to, I think, was going to be at least there's some promise there, put it that way. But thanks for watching. This is our maiden video for the YouTube channel, so plan on bringing a lot more different stuff, a lot of stuff that I'm involved in, not just obviously hunting and hiking and the outdoors, but I'm a home brewer, so we're gonna have some beer brewing videos to bring you, and then whenever I am successful, in the deer woods, I also make my own sausage and bratwursts and snack sticks and all that kind of stuff. So I'm planning on doing some videos for that. as well as different cooking videos on how to prepare different types of wild game, and just preparing other stuff. I love to cook, so gonna bring all kinds of different stuff to this channel. So hopefully you'll find something that appeals to you. You know, please like it, subscribe, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye now.